All right, we're live. Hi, everyone. I'm here with my ESB.
Hi, y'all.
Heather. That stands for Emotional Support Baker. And today she's also my, what was it, Vanna White? Is that her name?
Yes.
Yeah, she might help me out in all the stuff. So, allergy-friendly baking. So first, I'm going to talk about me, why I do this. I have life-threatening allergies, mainly to tree nuts and peanuts. I'm also, all of them are nuts, eggs, fish, and pork. Pork is more of like a GI thing, so as eggs, allergies can just range. There's a range with allergies, so I'm going to kind of dive into it, but this is not a science lesson. This is a baking lesson, which baking's chemistry, but so the major 9s, I got my notes down here, and I also put a bunch of notes and links in the event so you guys can see those. Common allergies, so these are they're called like the big 9, top 9 food allergies are milk. And I want to make a note, this is not lactose. Milk is whey protein. So it's the protein in the milk, not the lactose. Those are two separate things. I will kind of tell you a little bit more about that later on. Egg, you can be allergic to the egg yolk or the egg white. If you're allergic to the egg yolk, you can have the egg white, and that would be nice. But if you're allergic to the egg white, you cannot have the yolk because the egg white encompasses the yolk. I only know that because that's one of my allergies, and I'm allergic to the white. So if someone's specifically allergic to the yolk, you can just take the yolk out, but I'm going to tell you how to get over that. Peanuts, we know. Peanuts are actually not the top nut people are allergic to. It is cashews, and if you're allergic to cashews, their sister is pistachios, and you're going to be allergic to both. So they don't actually test for pistachios typically, because if you're allergic to cashews, you're going to be allergic to pistachios as well. But peanuts are more common because you see them in schools. There is such thing as cashew butter. I found that out. But it's more expensive than peanut butter, so that's why peanuts seem to be the most common one. Peanut is a legume, not an actual tree nut, so there is a difference with that as well. You can have soy allergy, that's edamame, soybeans. Wheat, again, allergy, that's why where the gluten-free comes in. Tree nuts we talked about, shellfish and fish. Funny fact, I am allergic to fish, not shellfish. Shellfish is more common, but I'm flopped. So if it has a crustacean shell, I can have it. And last is sesame. That is mostly the sesame oils that you will see in the baking. So all of these, I have a way to go around it. Baking with fish and shellfish, we don't come across, I don't think I've ever come across it, but fish oils can be hidden in things. It's potentially, I could see it being hidden in some butters if necessary, so just watch out for that. And if you guys ever have any questions, pop them in the comments. Heather is helping me with those. So yeah, let me look at my notes. Okay, I'm going to talk about the whey. So lactose intolerance and a dairy allergy are two different things. Lactose intolerance means, so you make, this is what my allergist told me, you make 12 per something lactate. You're supposed to make 12 per something lactate to be able to drink cow's milk, but I only make like 6. So that makes me lactose intolerant. It depends, like if someone had, let's say 2 lactate per whatever instead of 12, they would be more sensitive. I used to be able to eat some of the harder cheeses and certain brands of ice cream, but it's how much it's processed is how much lactose is taken out of it. So there's some wiggle room with lactose depending on all of that. An allergy, like I said, is the whey protein. All allergies are you're allergic to the certain proteins. That is not So you can't really have like a lactate to have butter for milk. The lactate is actually giving you more lactate, or what is it called? What's the meds called? Yeah, I think it's just called lactate, to give you more lactate for your lactose. It's confusing, sorry. So when they said they have a dairy allergy, that's very different. Don't tell them just to take lactate. So when it comes to baking, I didn't think I was going to really be a successful baker, because a lot of people would ask me if I do macadamia nut and white chocolate chip, I think is what I got asked about a lot. No, nuts do not come in my home. I do not want to die. Whenever I have new people come to my house, I ask them, please don't bring any, like, a bunch of loose nuts. Sometimes if I have a bunch of moms over, they might have some in a diaper bag. But as long as it stays in the diaper bag, I'm fine with it. But don't bring them into my house. We're not going to be eating them. My husband has a jar of peanut butter and a jar of some other nut butters in our garage to feed my children every so often with a plastic spoon, so they keep up their tolerance, but it doesn't come into my house. And when you're dealing with nut allergies or gluten, that is ideal, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about gluten, and that might help with some nut allergies as well, on what you guys can do to prevent those. Everyone asked me about the legal parts of it, and the twins so graciously called me out on the whiskey business last week. But I'm going to tell you, this is not legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. You guys are all in a bunch of different states, bunch of different countries. Hey, Tristan from Canada. So I can't give you legal advice. This is just what I was told for me personally here in Texas. And this is how I've worked with it. I suggest you talk to a lawyer. You don't have to actually pay them. This is what I just got the information from, a consultation with a business lawyer, and they give you options on other things of how to protect yourself. And then if you want to keep them as your lawyer, they'll talk about the fees and all that. So first, a judge is going to throw out most cases, especially against cottage bakeries, because there's so many. If someone's going to sue you, it has to be worth it. In Texas, we are what is called a homesteaded state. That means someone can't take your house. You cannot have your house as collateral in loans either. So no matter what, no one's taking my home, which is good because my kids are not liking camping, so that would suck. So a judge, if it gets past it to a judge, and a lawyer would try to sue me, if I have one of 5 things, at least one, a judge will probably throw it out. I can't remember if these were all the 5 or what, but what I have, you just need like 1 or 2 things. If you have this, and you can get it on Amazon, it's a binder that says company records. It's like an actual one. I'm not going to open it because, well, it has these, like, it comes with a bunch of papers and things, and I just kind of keep all my legal stuff in the pocket there. If you have that, that means you are an organized business, and a judge is probably going to throw it out. Another one is having an LLC. It is actually really easy to do. You can do it yourself. Have a registered agent, which is like $35 I think I spend per year for my registered agent. Having the LLC is another umbrella of protection, because they can't sue you personally, they can only sue your business. So, I mean, the most expensive thing I have in my business is my oven and Eddie, and they're not going to rip my oven out of my wall. So, I mean, they can't really sue. My business isn't worth enough to sue. Also, having an EIN number with your LLC. Also, having a company agreement. I actually don't have this one because the lawyer can help me do this, but that was another one that she said I could have. Also stating on my site or my communications on my page, on my policies, anything I have, that I take all the precautions and ensure safety within my process, talking about my process of what I do to help protect allergens, but I can't control what happens in the factory. If there's a recall and I've already given you your stuff, there's nothing I can do. I've done my best and things happen. And that's another thing. People with food allergies or parents that have had food allergies with their kids for a while are going to know that you have a risk of everything you eat. Me, I know 100 years ago, I should have died at least 5 times by now. That is a fact. And I'm very grateful I live in this day that I haven't. A lot of people ask why there's a lot of allergies now. One of the reasons I say is because we can save lives now. We used to die as kids. It's a fact. Now, because we're not dying as children, there's going to be more of us, and the world kind of has to start accommodating that so we can survive. As a fact, harsh truth, but I'm happy to be alive, so I don't care. So those are kind of the few things that you can do to protect yourself if you want. In the state of Texas, that's what I was told, but talk to a lawyer yourself if you want that. It's free. Find someone who will just do a consultation with you and help guide you so you know what is appropriate in your state. But as long as you're doing the best you can to ensure safety, probably a judge is going to throw it out. And that was what is told to me. This is not what I'm not telling you anything. I'm just relaying. We're having a conversation. So, next, is there any questions yet?
No, not yet. You're doing good.
Okay. If there is any questions, pop them into the comments. Y'all, I have ADHD, so I will jump around a lot. If I say I'm going to come back to something and I don't, pop it in the comments and we're going to talk about it. Next, we're going to talk about how to get rid of allergens, because there are allergens in your kitchen. So I am a nut-free home. I'm never worried about nuts coming in, because we would know, because I would have to use my EpiPen. Well, it's called ABQ injectors, but everyone calls it EpiPen. But my epinephrine injector. So I'm not too worried about any reaction with that. However, I do use regular flour. So let's talk about flour, gluten-free. I use King Arthur's 1-to-1 measure flour. Just for the gluten-free, and we'll kind of go into products a little bit more. But it is a rice flour. Some of the gluten-free flours are not 1-to-1. Actually, most of them aren't, because you have to add the, I can never say this, the gum powder. Xanthan, thank you. Xanthan gum powder, or another gum powder, to be able to have the same chemical reactions as flour would, and to keep the binding in the foods as well. Speaking of which, I had someone reach out to me saying that her daughter's allergic to the xanthan gum powder, but her birthday's in August, so I have to figure out if that's even possible. I have no idea on that one. I get all the weird requests. If you want to do allergy friendly, you will get some of the weirdest requests, but it is such a need at the same time. So just know you are helping. You are not a wizard. You're not going to be able to do everything, but you can try. Anyways, with cleaning flour, well, cleaning anything. So if I'm doing a dairy-free cake or anything, we got to make sure all of those allergens are killed. So all the proteins are killed. The best way to do it, the most effective way, is soap and water. A lot of soap, a lot of bubbles. Get all the bubbles. Soap and water. it has been proven that just sanitizing isn't enough. You got to make sure to completely get the soap and water. If I make sure, I actually double wash them. So I will wash my mixing bowl, get all soapy and sudsy, rinse it off, do it again, just to ensure that we are killing all of those proteins. After that, it's not necessary by the state of Texas for home bakers, but I do sanitize. There's these sanitized tablets. I actually ran out. So you can also use a combination of bleach and water. The ratio, I always have to look it up every time I do it. But I do that anyways after I soap and water it, but it's not required for that. And I have a document with a lot of lists and links to what I use in the event itself, so you can look at that. But you also need to clean your surfaces. So I actually do scrub my surfaces with soap and water, and it is a pain in the butt because then you have to wipe that up and rinse it off. You got to rinse it off, wipe it up, and then I threw away the bottle because it was like super concentrated, so I got to find that and link that once I'm done because I need to buy more sanitizing spray. So this is the one I have. I have to do a certain ratio because it's like hospital grade if it's not diluted enough, so make sure you're diluting it correctly. I had my husband do most of it, and that's how I found out that it wasn't wear out, because I couldn't find it, and he told me wear out, so I don't have the bottle anymore. I need to find it, but spraying that on and letting it sit to dry, and then spray it on again, and then wipe it with a clean washcloth or a paper towel that hasn't been in the kitchen when you've used flour yet. So that's kind of how you can clean it. I've added some links. If you have any questions, FARE, F-A-R-E, is the food allergy resource education. I can't remember what the R is. Research education, or foodallergy.org in the US. That is the best place to have all the food allergy information. I have those links as well. But they have all the research and everything like that. Also, they have good tips, tricks, all that. Next, we're going to talk about, we're still talking about flour. The one thing people do not think, and this comes from having food allergies. I can see more potential cross-contamination than most people can because I have food allergies myself. Your mixer is going to be the biggest point of contact that you cannot control as much. And it's not the mixing bowl, it is your mixer. Actually, Vera, can you use your muscles? I haven't named her yet. I still need to name this one, but this is my gluten-free mixer. Here, we are going to...
You got it?
Yep. Okay. Flour can get up in here. I think we all know. This is the beauty band. Right up in here. Flour can get in. All up in these little tiny parts and nasty stuff. That can actually, when you're mixing something else, shake loose some other flour that you have had previously and get into your gluten-free mixture. Same with like royal icing. You might not have done, flour in it, but it can still shake loose. This one is gluten-free only. So I do any gluten-free orders through this. So I have, I make my cake batter, my cookie batter, my royal icing, my buttercream for all gluten-free orders in this mixer. The dairy and the non-aerial allergies are not that big of a concern, but I do still soap and water and clean out as much as I can if I have those allergies. Yes, it's a lot more steps, but my goal is I want to treat people's food like I would want my food to be treated. with the same kind of care that I do for myself to ensure my own safety. So I think, okay, I'm going to die if I eat nuts. This mixer had nuts in it. How am I going to clean this mixer so I'm not going to die? Before I had enough money to buy this mixer, what I used to do is I used to actually go in, and I didn't have as many gluten-free orders back then either, and I would take off the beauty band, I would take off the planetary, and I would actually re-grease the planetary and clean all these spots. Take off the head. Go to mrmixer.com if you need to know how to do all that. His videos are amazing. You can actually re-grease your mixer yourself and all that. That also includes the paddles and the whisks and all the attachments, because flour can actually, the proteins can get stuck in there. It doesn't matter how much soap you think. Yeah, there's something like shoved way in there. And I soak these, and you never know what can happen, but I wash them, excuse me, so I wash them to clean them, and before I use this, I still rewash and resanitize everything. If you do a lot of gluten-free orders, then you can start getting your own mixer. She lives in my cookie room. She does not live in my kitchen. I bring her into the kitchen after I've decontaminated the counters, and then she can come in, because some of the flour, if it goes everywhere in my kitchen, it's going to land on her, and then everything can shake loose. But if she's in another room, she's not going to have that potential as much. Thank you, girl.
Jennifer would like to know if you cover this mixer, even when it's out here.
I don't. I need to get a cover, but the research that that has shown it doesn't travel as far as you think it does. It won't get in the ducts and all of that, but I do give it a good wipe down and sanitizing before all of them. But I just have it in a whole different room, and that is helpful because it also goes through filters, and some sources say it can be caught by filters, some sources say it can't. And I also tell people when they ask for gluten-free that it is in another room, and these are the things the steps I take. I tell every allergy order the steps I take for that certain allergy, and it's still up to them if they choose to work with me or not. Any other questions?
Yes. So I know we talked about this the other day. Kaylin says, curious if you found a good natural food coloring. My niece is allergic to food dye.
Yes, I'm actually going to grab that out of my little thing. When we go through products, I'll go through that just to keep me organized. Anything else?
That's all for now.
Okay. We're going to talk about that later. Just to keep my process where it is. Labeling. Oh, I have to get this off of here. I have all my labels on this cart here. So first thing, I like to show all of my allergy orders or any that are going to a school. Yes, I've been approved by schools. They have called and talked to me about nut-free stuff and the things that I have taken. Because I am a nut-free home, I believe that is why they do approve me, because I am technically a nut-free facility. I'm not sure if they would approve anyone else, even if they take the proper precautions, but I am approved by some schools, and they always call and talk to me, talk about what I do and all that. But I have these, I think was it like a year ago, another allergy baker had these, and they're on Amazon. They're linked in those notes already. I also have a specific Amazon list, not like a storefront or anything. I'm not affiliated. I'm not that cool. But this is a quick, these are the allergens that are in your food. It might be good to have for normal stuff too. Labeling, I realized I didn't have time this morning. I realized I'm out of some labels. I need to get a printer. Was it Munbin? Yeah. I need to get one of those, but here are my just the Avery labels I make up, and I do them specifically for certain allergens. I've just been doing a lot of allergy ones lately. And anytime I run out, when I'm putting stickers on and go upstairs, I have a file on my computer and put, it was made in a nut-free facility. On my business cards, it does say a nut-free bakery. And so I do state that in there, but I also say, let's say it's gluten-free, I say gluten-free, what do I say usually? I only say made in a nut-free facility. I don't say anything about anything else. I can say this product is gluten-free. I can't remember the wording. I'll find the wording and I'll put it in the notes of exactly what I say on them, because again, I need to print more. Let's see. Okay, and then the baking process, and then we'll go into products. The baking process, so mixing all of that goodness. We talked about the mixer a little bit. I've heard a lot about baking gluten-free in ovens, and I had to go down that rabbit hole, and it was a long rabbit hole. I had to go through studies and all of that of what constitutes, because basically what people are worried about, oh my gosh, my hair is crazy. What people are worried about is the fan in the convection ovens can blow some of the allergens and circulate it through the oven. The studies that have been done, these are only happen when there is loose flour and it's not in the actual mixture or batter. So I'm going to call Corey out on this, just because she's one of the ones that I've seen how she like puts flour on her actual dough and then rolls it out, and there's some loose flour like on top of that. That would be a more potential risk for it circulating through the oven. Me personally, I now have double ovens. I do have my bottom oven. I mostly do the gluten-free in that one. Or if I do gluten-free, I do not have my convection on. There's things saying that you can cover them with parchment paper, like on top of your cookies that are baking, to help prevent it, but the research really isn't there to prove that it actually does cross-contaminate. The FDA does not require different ovens when you are baking allergy, like gluten-free from regular in the ovens, because it has to be loose. So the cake batters, the cookie batters, it's not as loose. It is now combined and made. Like, you can't tell in mine that you can't pick out the flour, you can't pick out the egg, you can't pick out the sugar or the butter, because it's all combined into one now and it's kind of bonded together. No one has ever had a problem with that. If they do, like, there's some people that will go in depth with me about a lot of my process, and I tell them the process, and most of the time they still go with me. I can't actually think of someone that hasn't, but I mean, that's just what I do with my gluten-free baking. So what else with the process? Oh, make sure you wash your baking sheets and your mats really well in the soapy water. I know the mats are kind of hard to, and let them soak, and the trays you have to do like one way then the other way with the sanitizing. And then also don't keep, like, if I'm gonna do, let's say I have an order that there's 1 week I have an order that has a gluten-free cake, a dairy-free cake, and an egg-free cake. Don't put them in the oven at the same time. Do them separately. Or I have double ovens. I can do like one in the top, one in the bottom, and not have the convection on. Any questions?
Yes.
Concerns?
Bethany asks, do you have any tips about large orders where people who aren't in contact with you might eat your food? Example, I have a very thorough allergen segregation and cleansing document that I go over with each order, but I have my first wedding coming up in July. Obviously, the guests won't be seeing my documents and will just be given the overall label of gluten-free, dairy-free, nut-free, egg-free, sesame-free.
Like, okay.
So say you're a guest at a wedding.
Yeah.
And you have allergen concerns, but maybe you don't know who to ask. So should she include a documentation more so than just her label, so that a guest could check?
That's a good question. Me personally, as the one that has the food allergies, I don't eat a lot at places. Like if I'm going to a new restaurant, I kind of vet them before, and if I can't eat there, then I'll just go and hang out with my friends and just not get anything. And if people think it's rude, I'll tell them, do you want to kill me, and have the paramedics come? No one's ever actually been rude about it, so. But I'm just kind of spicy like that. I'll look at them and be like, do you want me to die and have the paramedics come? Because that's what will happen, and we don't want to deal with that. So I also just don't go into like places like Texas Roadhouse and where things want to kill me. So in that case, if someone is worried and has a lot of food allergies at the wedding, one, the bride or groom will know, and they will contact that person. Because if you have food allergies in your close connections, they're going to know. Or two, they will contact that person ahead of time asking about them. And then that person can give them the paperwork. And that is my experience personally as the food allergy person. So I don't think you would need to necessarily put it on anything extra besides gluten-free, dairy-free. If they're concerned about it, they just won't eat it. There's a lot of things that I don't risk. There are some things that I do risk, and people question me, and I say I haven't died yet, but that's also on me. I know one day I'm going to have a reaction. I'm going to have to use my EpiPens. Also, side plug, EpiPens are not a cure. It's just not going to kill you till you get to the hospital, and then you hope the hospital will save your life and can save your life, because sometimes it's too much and you will die. I know that's hard to hear, but that's my reality. So if they are too concerned, they're just not going to eat it, and that's okay. And the bride and groom will know, and all of that. So I would just put it on your sticker, your labeling, or whatever that you typically do. And if they're more concerned about it, then it's on you. You've done your part. It's now on the person that purchased it to do their part. Did that answer mostly? Probably?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay.
Want another question?
Yep.
So Heidi writes, I was thinking of going to a commercial kitchen, but I fear cross-contamination.
So, there's shared commercial kitchens, and yeah, I'm gonna do a plug. So, that's the thing, I can control my own home. I can control it as much as I can. If I'm going to a shared commercial kitchen or anything like that, I can't control everything else. There is like a joking dream that maybe one day, if I want a brick and mortar, I can do that and have it a completely nut-free environment and stuff. But once you add employees, once you add anything else like that, things can become lax. I would never trust a shared commercial kitchen with my baking. I wouldn't, because things can be more in the air, things can happen. It could, let's say I go away and there's a cake in the fridge, and someone else comes and accidentally bumps that cake, and they have flour on their sleeve or something, and it doesn't look like the cake's been touched, but it got on the cake. That worries me, but that's because I'm an allergy-friendly baker. So, I mean, I think it's great for everyone else. I personally wouldn't trust anything that was made in a kitchen like that for my own personal allergies. And it sucks because a lot of things aren't made like that. Here's also an example. Okay, as we have our Disney travel agent here, come to Disney CookieCon with us. Yeah, do it. That's my plug. You're welcome. Me and Heather are both going, so it's going to be fun. But Disney, the reason I have all my trips be Disney is they know how to feed me. And they take good care of me, and they make it seem like not a big deal. I can't tell you how good that makes me feel. Because sometimes people there's just this attitude that it's a burden. I don't want to be a burden. That's why I bring my own food or don't ask, because I don't want to be that burden. I know that this is my, sack of bricks that I have to carry around. But I don't want to be that burden. Disney goes above and beyond. They have the chef come out every single time. I met one of the 5 chefs that actually created the allergy plans in Disney. And they have certain things that are made in certain factories. So I can have baked eggs. They still don't want to risk it. So they gave me a gluten-free, egg-free, dairy-free, molten chocolate lava cake that they made in their specific building that they make only their allergy-friendly stuff from. And to be honest, I actually have a texture thing with the gluten-free. I still try them because I want them to taste good, but it's the texture thing for me. So I typically don't eat gluten-free, so I was a little skeptical about that. That thing was so good. I'm going to Disneyland next week, y'all. I'm getting that. I'm so excited. That thing is so good. And they make it not a big deal. They're like, we want you to have the most magical time and feel loved and feel like you can eat. Any other vacation, I'm starving the whole entire time because I cannot eat. So places like Disney, I trust them with my food allergies. I personally wouldn't go to an allergy-friendly bakery if they had a shared space. And that's because I can see the potential of cross-contamination. Even though it's not that baker's fault, it could be a risk for me. Does that answer it? Yes, no, maybe. If you have additional comments, questions, let Heather know. Okay, is that it?
Yeah, that's it for now.
Good. We're going to talk about products. Okay, I also will say, if you decide to be allergy-friendly baker, a couple things will happen. First, all the bakers around you will stop offering gluten-free.
Amen.
Thanks. So then it becomes really hard to also refer those clients if you're going, on vacation or something. But other bakers get scared, and I get why. I get it. I actually didn't want to offer gluten-free, but because I was nut-free, I grew into allergy-friendly, so that just kind of it grew from there. So that will probably happen. So all you bakers listening, don't do that. Do what I'm doing, and please, let's grow the, at least the gluten-free one, because that is a big need. Secondly, you will get, I don't know if I should use the word crazy. There are typical allergy-friendly moms that just want to be safe, and you're going to talk to them. Your consultation is going to be longer, and you know that. But then there are the ones that maybe they're new about it, or maybe they're just, I don't even know. They're more safe. They're not crazy. They drive you crazy, but they're not safe. They're more cautious, and they will ask you a billion questions. And I'm okay answering questions, but when the customer is asking me about every single product I use, the next time they order from me, they will have a larger consultation fee added onto their price. They're my starter clients, and I'm not upcharging them. I'm charging them for the consultation that I know will happen afterwards. Some of them are just not as educated. One I'm thinking of, she was all about, so her son was allergic to coconut, which is harder. I have a partial allergy to coconut. After the story, I'll actually remind me to talk about the allergy spectrum kind of thing. Well, her son's allergic to coconut, and she was asking about the vanilla I use. I sent her the vanilla I use and the label, and she's like, well, there's palm oil in it, and that can have coconut because it's the same tree. Coconut trees and palm trees are very different. Remember that song? Or not song, the book. A told B and B told C, meet you at the top of the coconut tree. Boom chicka, boom boom.
That sounds right.
Yeah, so that book. Yeah, coconut tree and a palm tree. Do you see palm trees with coconut in Texas? No, they're just palm trees. There's no coconuts on them. They are two different trees. They look very similar, but they are two different trees, y'all. And she said that sometimes, like, they can cross and be labeled wrong when they're coming across the border. And I told her I'm not sure about that because the FDA is so, well, sometimes they're so restricted on that. But what I said is I would do vanilla beans instead of my regular vanilla. And then she asked for, but what if the vanilla bean is grown, what was it, on a palm tree plantation? She still ended up coming with me, but I had to, like, send her some factual websites, and that was hard. It's encased in its own pod, and I don't see any. At that point, I just said I can't control where this bean is grown. If you're worried, you can do it. Maybe I'm not the baker for you. She still ended up going with me, but it was a long process, and you will get those. That case was just very special. And, you know, sometimes you'll get a little bit of that. Sometimes you'll get a lot of that. You just got to know. God bless your patience. I see one comment.
Is that the only one you've seen?
Yeah. That's the only one I've seen.
Oh, wow.
Patience and me are not usually said in the same paragraph, so I appreciate you. And the only reason I do probably have patience with this is I think this mom is just really, really worried about her son having a reaction, which I completely understand. I completely understand that. So, but you will get those. This is fair warning. You've gotta have kind of a understanding this will happen, and you will get some really weird ones too. Also, okay, what else? Oh, I was talking about
You said allergies.
The range.
Yeah.
Allergies are a range. So, you can still be allergic to something but not have anaphylaxis. My eggs, so if I eat eggs, I actually don't go anaphylactic, but what happens is I get hives in my stomach, but they feel like my stomach turns to stone, and it can have a lot of pain. My stomach and my GI are different. I have Crohn's disease, so I know what my intestines feel like, which is another complete difference. But for me, peanuts, my dad ate peanut butter all the time, but my mom had cashews all the time. This is before we knew my allergies, but your body knows more than you think it does. So I was around a lot more peanut butter before we knew, and once in a while I would eat peanut butter and I'd get a scratchy throat, but Butterfingers taste delicious and I would still do it. My allergist wrote on the prescription pad, Butterfinger once a month, and like a mini Butterfinger once a month, because you can keep up a little bit of a tolerance. And then they changed the Butterfinger recipe, and now there's more peanut butter in it, and I had a really rough day that day. So now I eat like a half a bite of a peanut butter every few months. But allergies can be a sliding scale. With that, it is up to the customer and consumer to decide what they tell you and what not. If they tell you that you have an allergy, you need to go off of what like thinking that they're going to go anaphylactic, and treat it as such, even if they say, oh, it's fine. So the one exemption from the rule is eggs. The egg protein, when combined with flour and like baking soda, the protein changes. Sometimes not enough, though, to have the allergy not happen. So me, I can have baked eggs. So I can have cake, but I don't want to put it in my buttercream because then I can have my issues. But I can have baked eggs. Like Disney didn't want to even deal with that, so I didn't get the baked eggs. But some people will be okay with it. If some parent says baked eggs are fine, just make sure that you bake it thoroughly, that there's no underbaking happening. Yes, the E. coli or whatever could be killed, but you got to make sure it is baked thoroughly all the way through. Even just a little bit overbaked is better than none if they want that. But I'm going to kind of start talking about products now. I have a solution for the eggs as well, which we're going to go into. How are we on time? Do we really have a time limit? I don't think so.
Time limit, but you've been going for 45 minutes.
Okay. So allergy-friendly stuff is going to be more expensive. And it sucks, but anyone with food allergies knows this. Sometimes, like the smash cake moms might not know this as much because their kid, it might be 1 year old and they've only been dealing with this for a few months or maybe a couple weeks or whatever. So you need to say, hey, the products are a little bit more expensive. Can you hand me one of my butters? Or actually both of them. Put them over there because my condensation in my fridge, because we live in the South, got all over this. Butters. This butter is the one I use. I actually linked it. It is the same price as a regular box of butter. However, it is only 8 ounces. It's actually 8.8 ounces. So this one I have to like measure out to make sure it's exactly 8 ounces because that's 1 cup. So this is technically double the price of a regular butter, even though at the store it's the same price, but it's half the size. And I'll go more into the butters and products later in just a second. But I want to say you need to know the price difference of your products. So gluten-free flour, that my egg replacer I'm going to show you. My egg replacer used to only be like 25 cents more per order, but I would still pass that on to the customer so they knew what I was doing for their orders. And so if this cost me $3.50, so I think right now it's about $3.50 per thing, and I'm going, and it's the same as a box of butter, but I need to do half that price extra to the customer, so that's $1.75 extra cost to the customer, and I do it as a separate line item, and I just say allergy-friendly ingredients, and I say the cost difference of the allergy-friendly ingredients. And that also shows, one, the customer that you are using the allergy-friendly ingredients, and two, they know that it's going to be more expensive, and they appreciate that you don't just hide it into the cost. So any questions before I go on?
No.
Okay. I actually cried, broke down and cried through the plague that we all experienced and we don't talk about. My favorite dairy-free butter went away. It was a sunflower butter, and I guess the factory closed because they couldn't get their supplies. I'm so sad because I had to find a new one, and I found this one at H-E-B. I actually don't shop at H-E-B very much, except this. I know everyone yells at me in Texas, but I usually do Kroger or Costco. So this is a plant-based, vegan, soy-free, gluten-free, dairy-free butter. However, it does have coconut in it, but it acts like butter. It's hard. it is hard. So this works really well with my buttercreams. Some of the shortenings do have soy or they have coconut, some of them. They also have palm oil, which also, again, was an issue from the same story. This one, Earth Balance. Everyone loves the Earth Balance. It's upside down. The Earth Balance butter. I can use this in baking, so like in the oven. I cannot use this for buttercreams that turns to soup. There's not enough fat in it to be stable. So I need to be able to use this, or I need to supplement with some shortening. What I ended up doing was this one because the mom was okay with the, no, I didn't. I used shortening in that order because she was okay with the palm oil and shortening fine. Anyways, so this one, just be very careful with. There's some cashew butters I heard that are great. Again, cashews kill me, so this is not gonna, so I'm not gonna try those, but try some more. If you can do some of the nut butters, I've heard they're more stable and they have the more fat you can use, but those are the ones I use mostly. We talked about gluten-free flour already, King Arthur, and what's the other one that makes it? There's another one that makes a 1-to-1 that's really good, but it doesn't come in bulk like this because I get these at Costco. Egg-free. This, you can do egg-free with like applesauce and some other different additives and stuff in the baking, but applesauce buttercream doesn't sound great. This is my trick. It's Energy, ENER-G egg replacer. This stuff is magic. It can get really clumpy and it's really hard to mix all the way in thoroughly. Use warm, hot water. Make a note for me. I can share my royal icing recipe and my buttercream recipe. I use this sometimes with royal icing. I do royal icing now. I use Bakety Bake's meringue powder for my cookies, but when I first started out, and that's for like other customers, for me with the egg, I just use this egg replacer. I will say, I think it took me a lot longer to learn consistency and cookies with egg-free than it did with regular royal icing because it is different. It takes a lot longer. Even in my dehydrator, it takes hours longer. It can take like 2 days to fully dry instead of 1. It's harder to write on if you can get it to write on at all. But mine is kind of like, they call it a glaze. There's some bakers that do a glaze instead of even a royal icing, but I kind of do a half and half because I do the egg replacer, and I will put my recipe in the comments, but I also use this in the baking as well. So the cake I did last weekend, I use this inside the cake as well. It says on the back of the box, 1.5 teaspoons of the egg replacer to 2 tablespoons warm water. I do hot water, as hot as I can, because that helps. But you also need to put this straight into the oven if you can. So the faster you get this in the oven, the better. For sugar cookies, I actually still just put them in the fridge to harden up after I roll them, and they're still fine. But with a cake where it has to rise and all of that, you need to put it into the oven quickly once you are done. And then I also use this as my base for my buttercream. I don't do it won't work Swiss meringue method. I actually did try it. Didn't work. But that 2 pounds of butter went to, may it rest in peace. But what did you call mine? My Swiss meringue that I do sometimes?
Oh, a mock.
A mock Swiss meringue buttercream, and I can share my recipe with you and how much I put of this in. Next, Okay, we'll talk about the natural food colorings. So I use Chef Master's liquid gel natural food colorings. They are gluten-free. They are expensive. It's like once a year I get the natural food coloring order, and I tell them, I am happy to give you this afterwards, but I am passing that cost on to you. Last year it was $35. I just had to buy it for a order I'm doing in a couple weeks, and it was $50. It was $48. These go bad really quick. These are expired. The reason I kept them was to show you guys. Was it 9/22/22? Yeah. They do not, you're not going to get the same, especially with red. You're not going to get the same coloring that you're going to get. They're duller. They're made, like this one's beet powder, water, other things I don't know what, but that's what I use. The color, oh, black's getting everywhere. The natural colors are tricky, but that is what I use. See, like the black is kind of turning a little bit more brown, but it might be expired because it's expired too. Because they're natural, they do not have the preservatives. Yeah, they're crazy expensive. I tell people, you will be either, I haven't tried the powdered natural food coloring. I just heard about it. I actually use the Sugar Arts Master Elites for all of my baking, so I would like to try the natural powdered, but I haven't yet. So if you have a link, let me know. But these are linked in that and on my list on Amazon as well. You're also going to be using a lot more, but I give my customers everything afterwards if they want. If they don't, I can keep them. But this is an 8-color set. I had one mom who wanted me to do their own paint your own with the natural food colorings, and I just because they're more water based, it was a lot harder to do. It wasn't really effective, but I would paint it on, kind of layer it, and it did kind of start cratering and getting rid of the sugar in it. So they didn't look the best, but the mom didn't want at least 5 of them to have the natural food coloring, and I did my best. So sometimes you gotta, that's one thing I think I put on my notes, is the communication with your clients are key. You're gonna tell them, I'm not a miracle worker. I don't have a factory. I don't have a chemistry degree. My degree is in psychology, very different. I can do my best with what I have, but sometimes I can't do it. And also have a backup plan. So you can tell your person, this is my plan and this is what I'm going to try. I'm not 100% sure if it's going to work, but here's my backup and here's my backup. As an example, I'm actually doing a natural food coloring order in 2 weeks, and that's why I needed new ones. And she wanted, this is also hard because the character is like a flame anime character, which is all red and orange too. And she wanted isomalt dyed with the natural food coloring. From my research, it says it should work. I'm not sure if it will. And I told her, I will try. I'm not sure if it will work. If not, my backup is fondant colored with that. And again, I'm not sure how the natural food coloring is going to work with the fondant. So if that doesn't work either, here's my third option. And my third option for this particular one, she was okay with it, like an edible image printed. It's not going to have natural food coloring, but with the image on fondant on the cake. She was okay with that. I said there will be cross-contamination in those spots, and she was fine with it. So that is the communication I had with her, and those are our options. I said this is our option 1, option 2, and this is how I'm going to go across this process. So just be honest with them. Tell them, you know, I've never done that one, but let me do some tinkering and try. That also goes with sweeteners. I don't do a lot of sugar-free because Some of the sweeteners I know from my Crohn's actually can really hurt the digestion system, so I don't like to use them. But if it's like a sob story that this kid has never had a birthday cake or whatever, and they have a bunch of other allergies, I'll try it. And I ask them what kind of sugar they use. I will not use like stevia and those ones that you would normally find. But one wanted monk fruit sugar. My dietitian today said monk fruit is actually pretty good, but it has the erythritol, and she doesn't like those. But there is like substitute fiber and sugar alcohols. So this is one, and I told my client I've never used monk fruit sugar. We will try it. It had a powdered sugar, which helped with because they were also dairy or egg free, so I had to have a powdered sugar. They were okay with that. And you know, I just did what I could. That's all I have left of that one, because I also had to pass on the cost to the customer, which was a lot because it was a big cake. And I mean, I think I needed 4 of these, and they're pricey, and they were okay with the cost being brought on. I just have a order that wanted to use this Swerve, and she sent this to me. I haven't tried it yet. I also linked it though. It says measures like sugar, tastes like sugar, gluten-free, diabetic friendly, bakes like sugar, non-glycemic, tummy friendly, keto friendly. But all of those things are not regulated. All of these are not regulated. So you always got to make sure to look at the actual ingredients. Do your research online. They have to say what everything is in their ingredients and what kind of facility they have. This says pet safe, born and raised in New Orleans, kosher. But again, I think kosher is regulated, but like all these other things are not regulated. It says tummy friendly, but it also again has the erythritol, which my dietitian today was like, that's not going to be tummy friendly. So be aware. I'm trying it because they bought it and they sent it to me, so we're going to see. But they also have brown sugar in that brand, and the confectioner's sugar, so the powdered sugar, as well as chocolate chips. No sugar added, stevia free and keto friendly. So no artificial colors or preservatives, all of that. And if you're using something that you've never used before, also you can run it by your clients, customers, clients, whatever. What I typically use for allergy-friendly baking is Enjoy Life. They are a nut-free, dairy-free facility. They are free from 14 allergens. 14, not just the top 9. There's 14 free. It's made in a dedicated nut-free and gluten-free facility. I can eat these. I love it. They're free from wheat, peanuts, tree nuts, dairy, casein. I haven't even heard of that one. Added sulfates, fish, shellfish, crustaceans. Shellfish and crustaceans are the same thing. Soy, egg, sesame, mustard, and lupin. So I love these. These are my go-to. They're actually really good, so they're just semi-sweet. They're a great option. That is also linked. I think that's all my everything I use. Oh, sprinkles. We're going to talk about sprinkles too. Sprinkles, it might say that they don't have these ingredients, but they might be in a certain facility. I also did a big list on sprinkles of what I use. Kate's Safe and Sweet is a dedicated allergy one. Like Sweetopolia has some vegan ones, but remember that they are still made in some of the same factories, so it depends on your tolerance. And it depends on the allergy too, because some are nut-free, some are like dedicated nut-free facilities, some are dedicated gluten-free facilities, some are dedicated egg-free facilities. So you just got to be careful and just vet everything with the customer, because the customer is going to know more than you do. Even with my own allergies, the customer is always going to know more about their allergies and their own bodies than you do. That's what I like to tell doctors. I understand you have a medical degree, but I know more about my body because of all, like my mom says, I write my own medical book. So you need to also take into account my experience and my knowledge and what has worked for me in your diagnosis. Some doctors don't like that, and I go somewhere else. So that's the kind of thing too. Ask them, see what they use, and if what they use works, great. If it doesn't, say this didn't work. What can we do to make this? So there's just going to need to be a constant communication. Any questions?
Nope, you got the one about the food coloring, so you're good there. I don't think I've seen anything else come through.
Ask if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, if I'm wrong. And I advocate a lot for food allergy awareness. There can be something new. I have a dietitian for my Crohn's, and you know, in the last 10 years, there's been more that have come out. It's actually kind of funny because in my personal life, I was just kind of sticking to a very strict diet. And when I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease, it got even tighter. And I felt very trapped in what I could eat. And then she's like, oh, you can get this online, this online. I buy stuff for allergy-friendly stuff online all the time for baking. I didn't even think about doing that for my own food at home. So we are living in a wonderful, wonderful world that has more options out there than I even realized. Some of us get stuck in, we can't eat this, we can't eat this. So this is like our little bubble of what we can eat. Well, more things are coming out. Safe and Fair is a brand. They have some granola at Costco and Kroger that is in a nut-free facility, and it's granola. I've never been able to have granola. It is the bomb, y'all. It has like dried apples in it. I love it. So you might know something that the customer doesn't, so have them look into it and all of that. Any other questions pop up or anything?
Can you repeat where you get your allergy-friendly sprinkles from?
So again, I have a few page notes. I'm gonna actually add some more to in the event itself that you can actually click on some of the links. If it's like blue and highlighted underscored, there's a link to it. But we have Kate's Safe and Sweet, Rainbow Sprinkles, American Sprinkle, Sweet Apulia, and that's the one that has some vegan ones. Spoken and Vermont Nut Free. And I think I already put the list in the event. Yeah, I did. So if you go to the event after this, you can see all of those. I think I also have all of my notes there. Any questions on pricing, any questions on what I use, what I do personally, comments. If it's a complaint, I don't want to hear it right now.
No complaints. Everyone's been very grateful for all of the knowledge you shared.
It's a tricky world, but we need more people. I'm a one-person show. I can't do everything. I would love to have someone I can, like, anytime there's any kind of nut order, I send to Heather, or I send to, like, I have a whole network of bakers. Heather and I are really close, so that's my first stop, but there's a whole network of bakers I can send them to. And a lot of bakers send people to me now too, but if I don't have anyone else that does gluten-free, then they're SOL.
You see the one about pricing? Did that one come up for you?
Oh yeah, so for pricing, what scale do you use? Price scale. Like, how do I price it out? I talked about this a little bit earlier, is I have my set prices per size of cake. This is just what I do. It's 3 1-inch layers is what I do, but if they want an extra inch, that's like an extra tall, I have a separate price. But I only charge them extra for the price of ingredients extra. So if you're in the Cookie College, I actually did a live, it's like a week and a half ago, about how I do my pricing. You can look at that, but I also add specifically how much per batch it's going to cost extra. So if I'm only making 2 dozen sugar cookies, I only need 1 cup of butter. So my butter is actually the dairy-free butter is technically twice the price of the regular butter. So I do the difference of that and just pass that on to the customer. So they're going to be paying $1.75 extra. And yeah, that seems minimal and small and stuff, but that extra money goes straight into my budget of ingredients. It does not go anywhere else. It doesn't touch my profit or anything. It's just an added ingredient because they know that it's going to cost more. The most expensive costs are going to be the butter and the flour. The egg replacer, right now I actually stopped adding the egg replacer because right now eggs are more expensive than the egg replacer. But once eggs go back down, I'll go back to that. My chocolate chips are actually, they're about the same price. So just keep a good eye on your product pricing of your products. And if you're in the Cookie College, you can look at that live. I can also add the link of where I get my, I'll write that down, my costing sheet. It's a wonderful lady who I follow on TikTok who was making one that I was making, but she finished hers first and I'm lazy. So I love the way she does it, and I put it on my Google Drive. So I have it with me. I will go to the store, and even if I'm not, buying flour at Costco, I'm just with my family, I go down the baking aisle and check the prices with my Google Drive, what's on my Google Drive, so I can make sure that my pricing is correct. I mean, I don't change my pricing every month, but if it gets to a significant difference, then I do have to change my pricing. Any others?
That's all. Just appreciation for sharing your knowledge again.
You're welcome. And you guys can always ask me questions. I have a lot of people that just come and message me. Or you can ask in the event itself. Tag me. Kim Sims. I rhyme, which is cool. That's the only reason I actually changed my name. But because I love my maiden name, and that's why it's still on my Facebook. But yeah, if you have any other questions or concerns, let me know. Please offer it if you are willing. I would be grateful. Everyone with food allergies will be more grateful than because it makes us feel good that other people don't want us to die. So yeah. All right. Bye guys. Thanks. How do we stop this?